Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. My name's Connor from 905 Review. You guys are checking out our series Give This a Spin, where I recommend you some of my favorite albums. And today we've got another certified classic, this time the Stooges with Funhouse. The Stooges were formed in Ann Arbor, Michigan as part of a blossoming punk scene. Well, actually, they were so far ahead of the curve, they were retroactively labeled Proto-Punk, as this is the late 60s we're talking about, and punk only really came to be used as a way to describe music in the early 70s. So not only were they trailblazers, but their live shows were insane. Frontman Iggy Pop would do just about anything up on stage and is thought to have been the one to popularize stage diving and crowd surfing. In 1969, they released their debut album, which is now seen as being legendary, especially in punk circles. However, critics at the time could have never foreseen its influence, and so it more or less flopped. But they followed that up with Funhouse the following year, and critics were really in for it because they strayed even further from the path. So let's jump into this new sound. Wasting no time getting into a groove is the album opener, Down on the Street. The lyrics here are pretty simplistic. We don't have to give much thought to them and can just focus on jamming. With that being said, the energy even in the studio is so palpable, I can't imagine what seeing this live in their prime would have been like. My introduction to this song was when Rage Against the Machine covered it, which benefits from being recorded 30 years later, but it's honestly hard to pick a favorite between the two. We keep rolling on the next one, Loose, which apparently the band preferred as the album's opener, which I can kind of get behind based on that little jam to start it. However, the label thought that Down on the Street was the heavier hitter. And here we're having a great time because we're loose. And really, it's hard to find a better feeling than when you feel like $1 million. And we're just firing off high energy, heavy hitters one after another, because before you can even come down from Loose, Iggy kicks off TVI with a howl, prompting some guitar. What are your thoughts on the Stooges, friend? Wow, that's not very politically correct. I don't think you can say that anymore. So what does it mean to have a TV eye? Really, it's just eyeballing somebody you fancy, and that's all that's going on here lyrically, but Iggy more than makes up for that with an insane performance. We slow things down to end the first record side, however, with Dirt. It feels like a very lonely and a very hurting song, and thinking about it now, with how big an influence the Doors were on the Stooges, I could kind of see them playing something like this. Halfway through, they break into a raucous guitar solo before easing things back down. But on the band's debut album, they had a song called 1969, so naturally we have 1970 here. While 1969 was full of having nothing to do, 1970 was much more of a party. Oh my lord, this guy. So it's just a jam about feeling good and having good times. We also toss in a saxophone during the ending jam for good measure. The fun doesn't stop for the grooving next one, Funhouse.
We've been separated.
The Funhouse was another name for the Stooge Manor where the band and their closest peers stayed, and realistically, I feel like it could have become a historical landmark had it not been torn down. But at the time, they were of course having fun in the Funhouse. So I know earlier I said that they strayed away further from the norm on this album. That's mostly only present on this second side of it here. I mean, we tossed in a bit of saxophone into 1970. It had a bigger presence on this song as a continuous jam as Iggy just rambles away. And we're really going to double down on that to finish the album with the chaotic LA blues. It is 5 minutes of pure mayhem, and I don't think I've ever seen a Genius Page entry like this. Funhouse is available on all major music formats, and allow me to be a bit of an idiot here because for the longest time I thought it came with the option of 2 different covers, this being one of them, when in reality the second is just like so. But I mean, you can see how I got that wrong, right? I wouldn't have expected it to be 2 images in one, whatever. In 2005, 2 CD and 2 LP sets of the album were released containing demos and alternate takes of the songs. In 2003 it was released on a picture disc, in 2015 on a red and black starburst, in 2017 on an orange and black smoke, and in 2022 on a red and black split. In 1999, 1970, the complete Funhouse recordings was released. It was all the material recorded at the time for this album, spanning 7 CDs, which is kind of a scam because it's 6 CDs of full material, and the 7th CD just has 2 songs on it, composing of 6 total minutes. In 2020, this was also made onto vinyl, spanning an insane 13 LPs, plus 2 7-inch singles. The influence Stooges and this album have is insane. I mean, you could probably make an entirely separate video just of all the artists that this album inspired. But like its predecessor, all that fame, at least in a commercial sense, came much later in life, as this one too flopped, and with the development of drug abuse, the band broke up shortly afterwards, though they would reunite before long with the help of David Bowie of all people. All this time later though, Funhouse is rightfully regarded as a phenomenal album. And it really was ahead of its time. To think that this came out in 1970 is pretty mind-blowing. The lyrics, they are pretty basic, but again, Iggy more than makes up for that with his energy and his delivery, and on top of that, it's hard not to get wrapped up in the musical prowess here anyhow. And all the jamming with the great guitar work, utilizing an incredible tone all the while. I mean, I've got to be stamping this thing with an A grading. It's an easy A. It's a top tier A if we're being honest. I mean, even just the influence the album had alone is enough to kind of justify that, but really, you can't go wrong with the songs on here. Maybe LA Blues might be a bit much if you're not into the experimental side or the jamming side of things, but all in all, I think this is a fantastic album. But those are just my thoughts on the Stooges and Funhouse. Let me know yours. As always, I appreciated hosting you. Thanks again to our special guest of the day. And I'll see you later. Bye for now. But real quick, before we take off, what were your thoughts on Funhouse by the Stooges? Did I rate it too high or did I rate it too low? You let me know down below, as well as anything else you might be thinking, any other albums you might want me to check out, just any other thoughts you might have. And I'll see you next time. Appreciate you sticking around. Bye.